Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we are back. And, today, technically speaking, it needs to be with Chris, Natasha, and Rob. So Joe is out, having a great time today. He is out in Boston, if I'm not mistaken, and his black belt ceremony. So we wish Joe all the best luck of that. He's going to be breaking a whole bunch of boards.
Is he going for a black belt, or is?
I think so. I think he's doing some type of move-up ceremony. I mean, the pictures I've seen on Facebook show a lot of black belts out there. So,
all right, Joe.
Yeah, so it's really good stuff. And, we're coming up against our last 15 minutes, and we always save the best for last right here, as they say. One of our really, really good sponsors of the show is Capital Title of Texas, actually the largest independent title company in the state of Texas with 8 great locations here in Houston alone. And what they do a lot of times, they will call us up and say, all the time, and say, hey, can you invite some of our really, really good friends, good clients? They say friends are first, clients second, as far as what they do. And they wanted Danny to get on here. And so Laura invited Danny to come on. Danny, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having us here. It's we're happy to be here and ready to answer any questions you guys have.
Danny and I actually did a deal together. It was in 2012, I think it was, the end of 12.
Oh, wow.
Correct.
And we sold out in a Lismore Lake.
Okay.
One of my dear clients have known for 20. He's probably bought 10 properties from me, and of course Danny was the listing agent on that property, and so we got her done.
Got her done. That's something to be said in 2012.
Oh yeah,
we got her done.
Oh, really?
And a smooth transaction at
And a smooth transaction. Well,
So-
Danny, let us know a little bit about. You're with Glenlock Realty. Let us know a little bit about who you are and who
Sure.
what you work for, who you work for.
Sure. I've been doing real estate since I was 17. I've been doing it for 37 years. My father was a realtor, and we had our business in New York and been here in Houston, Texas for now almost 13 years.
I still hear that little bit of New York accent, though.
Oh,
Very
wow.
little.
Forget about it.
He says y'all, though. He still says y'all.
My daughter does.
Well, you're in an area of town which is really, really interesting. I spend a lot of time over in the Cypress area, in that northwest area that you've got in the Southside Champions. A lot of neat stuff has gone on over there. I mean, it's really still a lot of development going on, but it's also a very seasoned area with a lot of good things to do community-wise. Let us know a little bit about what's going over that side of town.
Sure. I mean, you have Exxon coming in, in January of 2015. So that's really boomed, all our homes. Our prices have gone up anywhere between 10 and 20%. And the building there is just, especially Woodlands, for example, they probably jumped up a good 25% on the prices.
Wow.
So it's incredible how much the booming is going on, and it's it's time to buy. One of the things I always tell all my clients is like, they're thinking it's we're going to wait for next year. Well, if you're going to wait till next year, you get ready to pay 10, 15, 20% higher. So the time to buy is really right now. And while there's still some inventory, I think once Exxon comes in, the inventory is going to be probably none. Just like we have in Glenlock Farms. About 3 years ago, we had about 140, 150 homes in Glenlock Farms, which is a community that's over 3,000 homes. Last year, we had 75 homes active. This year, we have 25.
In Glenlock Farms
In
alone?
Glenlock Farms alone.
Wow.
25 only active homes.
Wow.
So, which is, the reason why the demand's just an incredible
This
demand.
is where we beg and plead for people to put their home on the market, because going back to what Danny was saying was that they're going to wait for their house to go up a little bit more in value. So their house goes up 10% in value, and they have a $300,000 home, so it'll go up $30,000. But that $500,000 home they're moving up to went up $50,000. So they
right.
got a disparity
There's
of $20,000 by waiting.
Right.
And
Good point, Rob.
there is product out there, and we are encouraging people to this is a great time because rates are. Talk about the rates real quickly. We thought they were going to go up, and guess what happened? They went down.
It's been a very interesting market, and Danny can probably attest to this as well. Is we've all been forecasting rates to move up, and there's been some factors associated with keeping it down. Obviously, our government and the mortgage-backed securities have maintained it. We're sort of in that perfect storm. Rates are still extremely good. Now, we did have a little bit of bump up this week, and the reason why, obviously, we got some stuff that's going on in Ukraine and Russia and that little issue right there. But we also had the fact that the Fed is starting to announce that they are paring back their mortgage-backed security purchases by $10 billion. And so if you look at that paring back, that means that they are looking and saying the market can now sustain itself and the private entities can now sustain themselves without the government stepping in and having to buy all these mortgage-backed securities. And don't get me wrong, the government wants to buy mortgage-backed securities because it's a great asset to have, right? I mean, if you look at it even right now, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, they haven't lost money on those entities. They've now paid back the government the entirety of what they were bailed out for. However, with that being said, I still say the best time, and like Danny said, the best time to buy is when it's right for you. But right now is one of the best times to buy and sell. Why? Because you have builders like Homes by David Powers, like In Town and Love It Homes. You've got great agents like yourself, Danny, and Ashton that we have. And you've got rates that are absolutely phenomenal still. I mean, you can still get a 15 in the threes. You can still get a 30 in the mid-fours. They're not going to stay around that for this long, especially if inventory continues to dwindle down. As inventory dwindles down, guess what happens? It's a supply and demand issue, right? And so, rates are going to continue to move up, not only because of what's going on in mortgage-backed security, but also based upon what's going on the buying and selling of properties. So I tell everybody, take advantage of it when it's best for you. But if waiting is an option or buying now is your option, get into it now versus waiting.
Yeah, great example is just myself. We're selling our home. We're going to put our house in the market to purchase a newer home. Because really, if we're going to sell 10 years from now, our home will be 17 years old. Well, if we purchase a brand new one now, it's going to only be 10 years old. I think the prices are going to keep going up, and I think it's a great time for you to sell and to be able to pick up something and purchase something newer if that's what you're looking for. And that's what me and my wife were doing, and we're pretty much trading. We're selling our home pretty close to $450. We're buying our home just about the same price.
And, very good thing. We talked about, obviously, a lot of the amenities that people are seeking inside the loop, especially with home builders, et cetera. What are you seeing that individuals are looking for outside? What are some of the amenities that people are seeing, not only community-wise, but home-style-wise? What are you seeing?
Well, one of the things, the prices, again, is going up, as far as, prices all around. They're looking, of course, they're getting more luxury, items there, because they're paying a lot more, okay? So they're looking for, more luxury, bigger, I think more like bigger living rooms, more 1.5 stories. I think the families are looking more to stay in, instead of starting on a 1 story and then going to a 2 story and then coming back to a 1 story. I think the trend's going a lot into 1.5 stories where they can stay in that home for 10, 15 years.
Right.
Instead of switching every 5 years, staying there, start with the kids small in a 1 story, have, an upstairs with a bedroom, a game room, maybe a media room and things like that, or a media room downstairs like David Powers does. One of those homes are great because then the kids grow up and the teenager can go upstairs to one of the bedrooms, and then he goes off to college. The second teenager goes up to his room, and then when they come back, the same thing. I have my kids going, in college now. They want to come back. Right. So you, instead of switching every 5 years for a home, they kind of taking that 1.5 stories. And you see it from the builders. The builders before used to have, 7 or 8 1-story plants and then 1.5 story plant. Mm-hmm. And then they used to have, 10 2 stories. But now they have 5 or 6 1.5 stories, only 2 or 3 1 stories. And the 2 stories are falling from 10 to 5. So it's a big change, and you see it all around. That's what people are kind of looking for.
And I think that that's very important, because one of the things that we used to say is the average individual used to stay in their home for 5 years. Mm-hmm. That was the old numbers, right?
5 to 7.
5 to 7. And that number over the past, since 2008, a lot of it because of the financial situation has actually increased, right?
Yeah. It's about
so now
10
the
years
average
now.
individual has stayed there, it's like 7 to 9, right? Mm-hmm. But what we're actually seeing, and I was talking with somebody about this actually the other day, is the exact same you just got through saying, we're probably going to see that continue to increase more because of 2 factors. Number one, people are starting to invest in, like we said, you mentioned Homes by David Powers, those type of products, which are very good longevity type products, right? And the other thing is people have just gotten, there's not enough inventory to keep moving all the time.
Right.
What are you going to sell and what are you going to buy for the equivalent price? And a lot of times you can't. If you buy a home 10 years ago, and you're planning 10 years from today buying a home, you're not going to get into it for the same price.
No.
And even though appreciation can be factored in, et cetera, those are some of the things. So I think it's important, as you mentioned, to buy lifestyle, to buy amenities, and to buy what's going to be good, not only functional for you today, but also can be functional for you in the future.
Let's talk about amenities and stuff. We talk about, that we've talked so many times about people buy lifestyles. They don't buy homes. And no one's ever bought a whole home. They always buy a part of a home.
That is correct.
What specifically are they looking for? I mean, we talk about outdoor kitchens. We talk about, those types of lifestyle choices. Is that what you're seeing out there in that marketplace? Or?
Well, I think it's completely changing because, people who never had an outside kitchen, never had, an outside TV and things like this, and pools, for example, nobody used to do pools. Now, everyone's doing pools,
right.
And when person is looking for a home, if you have pools, for example, those are the first ones that go. We have, 10 homes, 2 of them with pools, and those 2 go right away. The other 8 homes go later on. So, and outside kitchens and things like that, those are things that before nobody used to do, and now everybody's kind of doing. I think that's what we're looking for.
So you're seeing a lot of outdoor lifestyles as making their choices.
Completely, and that's one of the reasons I'm moving. I'm doing the same thing.
So that resonates with you.
It
Then.
resonates,
Yes, it does.
definitely. Well, Danny, I got a question. We're going to be
Sure.
coming up to the end of the show pretty fast, and I don't want it to go by too fast without us letting you know. How can we get a hold of you if you don't mind?
Well, let me give you my personal cell is 281-639-1438, and my email is danny@glenlockrealty.com. And anytime there at Glenlock, you can reach us, and you can also go to our website, which is Glenlock Realty, and you can see all our agents there, and any of them can be happy to help anybody.
That is awesome. Again, that's Danny Lazo with Glenlock Realty, GLEANN.
Let's thank Natasha for being here today.
And
how do we get a hold of you,
How do we get a
Natasha?
hold of you?
Well, if any of you guys are interested in getting a warranty for your home, you can reach me at 832-200-2082, and that's direct. Again, that number is 832-200-2082.
And as always, I want to leave everybody with a great saying. It says, God wouldn't have allowed a challenge to happen if he didn't plan for something good to come from it. That's from our great girl, Teresa Kennedy. Until next week, have a great day.
And you've been listening to the Real Estate Rat Pack. The question is, who's Frank, who's Sammy, who's Dean, and who's the other guy?
Chris is Frank,
I'm
he's
Dean.
Dean, and I'm Sammy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So tune in to the really big show every Saturday at 9 a.m. right here on 100.7 The Word, KKHT.